never believed in ghosts. Not really. Not in the way people whisper about them, not in the stories kids tell around campfires. But I do now, because I've seen one, or maybe it's seen me. It started the night I moved into my new apartment, a small one-bedroom place, nothing special, just something I could afford after finally getting out of my hometown. It wasn't in the best part of the city, but it was mine. The walls were thin, the floors creaked, and the plumbing rattled sometimes, but I didn't care. The first night, I lay awake listening to the sounds of the building settling, the distant hum of cars passing by outside. But underneath it, there was something else, a faint scratching. At first, I thought it was mice. Old buildings always had mice. But then I realized it wasn't coming from the floor or the walls. It was coming from inside the closet. I told myself it was nothing. I rolled over, pulled the covers tighter, and forced myself to sleep. But the next night, it happened again. This time, it wasn't just scratching, it was breathing, shallow, ragged breaths. Just on the other side of the door, I sat up, my heart pounding, staring at the closet. The door was shut. I hadn't touched it since I moved in, but now, in the darkness, I could see the faintest outline of something pressed against it. Like someone was standing just behind it, leaning close, waiting. I held my breath. The sound stopped. For a long time, I didn't move. Then, slowly, I reached over and turned on the lamp. The second the light filled the room, the air changed. The weight of something pressing against that door was gone. Just like that. I told myself I was imagining things, that I was just tired, that old buildings make weird noises. But the next morning I found something that made my stomach drop. On the inside of the closet door, scratched into the wood, were 4 words. Don't turn off the light. I moved out that night. I didn't pack, didn't clean, didn't tell the landlord. I just grabbed my keys, walked out the front door, and never went back. Thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. A week later, I woke up in my new place, miles away from that apartment, to the sound of scratching. It was coming from the closet. I thought leaving that apartment would end it. That whatever was in that place would stay there, locked behind that door, behind the words scratched into the wood. But I was wrong. It followed me. The first few nights in my new apartment were quiet, too quiet. After what I had been through, I should have felt relieved, but something about the silence felt wrong. The air was too still, the shadows stretched too far, and then, one night, it came back. I woke up to the sound of scratching. It was faint, almost almost delicate, like fingernails running along the wood. My whole body went rigid. I turned on the lamp instantly, my fingers shaking as I reached for the switch. The sound stopped. I sat there, breathless, heart hammering against my ribs. I forced myself to look at the closet door across the room. It was shut, just like before. I told myself it was my mind playing tricks on me, that I had been dreaming. But in the morning, when I finally gathered enough courage to check, I found something new. On the inside of the closet door, beneath the first message, another set of words had been scratched into the wood. You sure didn't. I left the apartment that night. I got in my car and drove with no destination in mind, just putting as much distance between me and whatever was happening. I ended up at a motel on the outskirts of town, exhausted, drained, but unable to sleep. I kept the light on. At some point I must have dozed off, because when I woke up, the lamp was off and the closet door was open. Not just open, wide open. The air inside was darker than it should have been, like the light refused to touch it. My entire body screamed at me to move, to run, to get out of that room, but I couldn't, because I wasn't alone. Something stood in the doorway, motionless, its form just barely visible in the dim light. I didn't breathe, I didn't blink. Then, slowly, it moved, not toward me, no. It reached up and pressed a single, long finger against where its mouth should have been. A silent command. Don't scream. The lights flickered, and it was gone. The closet was empty, but when I turned on the lamp again, my breath caught in my throat. The words on the door had changed. You can't run. I didn't sleep that night, or the night after, because I knew now it wasn't just the apartment, it wasn't just the closet, it was me, and it wasn't going to stop. I thought I understood the rules. Keep the lights on, never leave the door open, never ignore the warnings. But the thing about rules is that they only work if whatever is chasing you decides to follow them. And this thing, it was never playing by my rules. I stopped running. It didn't matter how far I went, how many locks I put on my doors, how brightly I lit my rooms. It always found me. The scratching at the closet door, the flickering lights, the messages carved into the wood, each one worse than the last. I had spent months trying to escape it, but I knew now I wasn't running from something. I was being hunted. And then, one night, it changed. I woke up at exactly 3:12 a.m. The air in my room was thick heavy, wrong. And the closet door, this time it wasn't just open, it was gone. The space where it had been was nothing but blackness, a void, and something was inside it. I couldn't see it, not really, just the shape, just the way the darkness seemed to bend around it, like the air itself was being devoured. Then, from deep inside the blackness, I heard it, a whisper. My name. My body refused to move. My mind screamed at me to run, to get out, to do anything but sit there and listen. But I didn't, because I had finally realized what it wanted. I had never seen its face, never seen its hands reach for me, never felt its breath on my skin, but now it was calling me, not hunting, not waiting, and I knew that if I stepped inside that darkness, if I let it take me, the running would stop, the scratching would stop, the messages would stop. I could finally rest. I took one step forward, and then I stopped, because in the silence, in that thick, suffocating air, I heard something else. Laughter. It wasn't human. It wasn't even close. But it was laughing. It had almost won. I stumbled back, gasping, reaching for the lamp beside me. The second the light flooded the room, the closet door slammed shut so hard the walls rattled. I didn't breathe, didn't blink. Then, slowly, I turned my head toward the mirror on the wall, and I saw the message, scratched deep into the glass. You were so close. I left the next morning, packed what little I could carry, and walked out, knowing full well that no matter where I went, no matter what I did, it would find me, because now it wasn't just watching me from the closet. Now it was waiting for me to come to it. I stopped running. It didn't make a difference. No matter how many cities I moved to, how many locks I put on my doors, how many sleepless nights I spent staring at the closet, waiting, it always found me, the scratching, the whispers, the messages carved into wood and glass. I thought I had figured it out, keep the lights on, never open the door, never step into the dark, but now I learned. You never understood the rules, because this thing, whatever it is, was never following rules. It was waiting for me to break them, and last night I did. It was 3:12 a.m. when I woke up. It's always 3:12. The room was silent, but I felt it. The air was too still, too heavy. I turned my head toward the closet, expecting it to be open, expecting the void inside, and it wasn't. The closet door was gone, not open, not ajar, gone, as if it had never been there. I sat up, my breath coming fast. My hands clenched the sheets. The walls looked the same, the floorboards creaked the same way when I moved, but the closet, the place where it had always stood, was just an empty patch of wall. I thought maybe I was losing my mind. Maybe after all this time, my brain had finally given in. But then I noticed something. The mirror. I had covered it weeks ago, taped thick black fabric over it. But now the fabric was torn, and written on the glass, scrawled in jagged letters, was a single word. My stomach twisted. Every part of me screamed, "Don't do it. Don't give in. Don't play its game." But I did. I turned, and for the first time I saw my reflection staring back at me. But it wasn't me. It looked like me. It had my face, my body, my same tired eyes, but it was grinning. Not a normal grin. A wide, impossible smile that stretched too far, too thin, splitting the skin at the corners. And then it moved, not me. It, my reflection, raised a hand, even though I hadn't moved. It reached forward, pressing its palm against the glass, and as I watched, frozen in horror, the mirror rippled, like water, like a door. The reflection tilted its head, its smile never faltering, and then it whispered 2 words, "Let me in." I stumbled back. My breath came in ragged gasps. I squeezed my eyes shut, my hands trembling as I reached for the lamp. The second the light flickered on, the mirror shattered. Glass exploded outward, raining down across the floor. I didn't move, couldn't move. My body felt like stone, and then I heard it, a faint whisper, coming from the shards at my feet. I forced myself to look down, and every single broken piece of glass, they were all still smiling. That was last night. Now the closet is back. The door is where it's always been. But I haven't looked at it since, because I know now. It's not in the closet anymore. It's in the mirror, and it's waiting for me to look. I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know if I ever did. I thought I understood what was happening. The scratching in the closet, the whispers, the messages. I thought it was following me, waiting, hunting. But I was wrong. It wasn't trying to get in. It was trying to pull me out. After the mirror shattered, I left. I packed a bag, got in my car, and just drove. No destination, no plan, just distance. I kept the radio off, the windows up, the lights on, always on. And for a while it felt like maybe I had finally escaped. Until last night. It started on the highway, a stretch of road I didn't recognize. Miles of nothing but asphalt and the occasional sign. It was late, my body aching from hours of driving, my eyelids heavy. But then I saw something in my rearview mirror. Headlights, too close. I kept my speed steady, but the car behind me stayed right on my bumper, its high beams flooding my interior, blinding me. I switched lanes, so did they. I slowed down, so did they. A chill crawled up my spine. I tightened my grip on the wheel, heart hammering. Then, for the briefest moment, I caught a glimpse of the driver in my mirror, and my stomach dropped. It was me, not just someone who looked like me. It was me, same face, same clothes, same terrified expression. Then they smiled, a wide-stretched, skin-splitting grin. My foot slammed on the gas. The engine roared. The car shot forward. But the headlights behind me never faded. No matter how fast I went, how many turns I took, they were right there. And then the road changed. The yellow lines blurred, stretched, twisting into something that didn't make sense. The trees along the side of the road melted into darkness. The sky above flickered, the stars shifting, warping. Then the scratching started. Not from behind me, not from outside, from inside the car. Something moved in the back seat. I didn't look, I wouldn't look, but I could feel it. The weight of something shifting, pressing against the seat, the breathing, shallow, ragged, too close. Then from the back seat, in my own voice, "You should have let me in." The car swerved, my vision blurred, the headlights in the mirror flickered, and then they were gone. The road snapped back into place. The trees were trees again, the sky was normal, but my reflection in the mirror, it wasn't looking at the road, it was looking at me. I slammed on the brakes, gasping for breath, my body shaking. The car was empty. The back seat was empty. But I knew it wasn't over. I checked into the first motel I could find, locked the door, left every light on, sat on the bed, waiting. And now, as I write this, I can hear it, not scratching, not whispers, something else, something laughing. The mirror in the motel room is covered with a towel. I won't look, but I can feel it watching me. I don't think it's trying to take me anymore. I think it already has.